Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gives in the Bank recruiting podcast brought to you by BuckeyeScoop.com. I am Marc Givler, joined as always by Bill Greene. We've got Kevin Noon producing the show today. It is a special commitment episode. If you're watching this, listening to this, Ohio State has landed five-star wide receiver Carnell Tate out of IMG Academy in Florida. Really long recruiting process. I know we kind of felt Ohio State led the whole way, but it was not short of drama. Tennessee made a good run at it. Notre Dame was in there for a while. But Ohio State lands a guy who's been, maybe their top receiver target for about 2 years now. Bill, first of all, just, your thoughts on the whole recruiting process. Carnell, had multiple decision dates, kept bumping it back. You kept kind of doubling down that it was going to be Ohio State. What had you so confident? And did you get nervous at any point during this as he kept kind of moving things around?
No, not really. I thought it was Ohio State all along, and I thought people were typically overreacting toward the NIL stuff, as fans are wont to do. And I thought it was Ohio State the whole way. I could not see this kid, going to Tennessee. I don't think that situation is stable enough, and I just thought with what Ohio State can bring him in terms of Brian Hartline and the Ryan Day offense and Devin Brown and McCord and just everything that goes into, Ohio State developing wide receivers. He watched that draft. He's no dummy. He's researched the draft over the past 4 or 5 years. He knows, Terry McLaurin and that group of guys. And he's not seen a lot of guys from Tennessee there. What you see from Tennessee is a lot of coaches getting fired, quarterback derby every other week. He's no dummy, okay? Plus, he knows that the NIL opportunities are there at Ohio State. They're definitely there. So add it all up, it was Ohio State all along. I never wavered on that. Ohio State might have got more nervous than I did. But I think they were pretty confident the whole time, too, that Carnell would choose the Buckeyes. And I think it's a great choice for this kid. I don't think it went wrong, going to Tennessee or Notre Dame or somewhere else. I mean, in the end of the day, it's up to you to develop yourself into a superstar player, the best player you can be. They don't all come from Ohio State. So personally, I think it's a great choice for the kid. I just think his style fits with Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba. When I describe Carnell as a player, and now you probably want that later, I think he's a cross between those two. And I just think he fits that Ohio State offense so well. I think there's, going to be a spot for him pretty early on, and I expect him to be a star. I really do. So I hope I didn't go too far there with why I thought it was Ohio State and wandered into some other areas.
Well, it's interesting you kind of brought that up. You have Carnell as a cross between Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba. I kind of wrote in the Impact article up on the website that I think he's kind of a cross between Olave and Garrett Wilson. So why don't you go first? What do you see out of him that has you saying cross between Olave and Jackson Smith-Njigba? And then I will tell you what I see that makes him a cross between Olave and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, just a special, special player. I mean, he can go deep if you need him to go deep, just like Olave has done for Ohio State for so long. And then he can do the acrobatic stuff that, Jackson Smith-Njigba can do. I love Carnell Tate. We saw him in person before. I've seen him, we've seen him together a lot. We saw him in Canton, and forget that it was against, the clowns from Sycamore. I mean, the plays he was making, they were individual plays that were just amazing. So I love the kid. And, when you're able to compare him to players that have currently and formerly played in this Ohio State offense and become high draft picks because of it, well, then I think he made a great choice. Like I say, we've had 3 comparisons already to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Those are all millionaires or future millionaires. So, I think Carnell's in great shape, in choosing Ohio State.
Yeah, I see the same type of player you do. God, I love that play against I know it's Bishop Sycamore, but the one that Kevin just ran it a minute ago there, if you're watching the video, he basically runs through like 3 or 4 guys and reaches out and gets a touchdown at the goal line. And he's not a big guy. Like, he's not 220 pounds. I mean, he's probably about 175, 180 pounds right now. If anything, he's a guy who needs to put on 10 or 15 pounds once he gets to Ohio State. But I see the Olave-Wilson cross because I see the smoothness of Olave, the way he just gets into those cuts and in and out of those breaks and his releases and just how smooth and natural he is as a deep ball threat. And then again, that play I was referring to where he kind of runs through 3 or 4 guys. There's a Garrett Wilson level of energy and compete level and toughness that he brings, because Garrett's not a big guy either, but he can make those types of physical one-on-one plays. And then I see Carnell being able to do that. He's probably an inch or 2 taller than Garrett, actually, but both kind of skinnier guys who are able to win with physical toughness and compete level. So that's kind of where I got my cross. Bill, where would you? Okay, so now they've got Bryson Rogers in. They're hoping to have Brandon Inniss in. They're hoping to have Noah Rogers in at some point. We'll see what transpires with those two. But those are kind of the 4. And I know there's other guys, Jalen Hale, Rico Flores. I know there's other guys, but those are kind of the 4 they've really been zeroed in on. Is Tate the best of those 4 to you? Or, kind of where would you – we don't have to go 1 to 4 necessarily right now. And I know, look, our opinions could even change in the next 6 to 8 months as we see more of these guys. But, like, today, like, where would you have Tate in that foursome?
Well, I would have Tate ahead of both of the Rodgers. And I like both of them. I like both of them a lot. I think we're splitting hairs here, Mark. I mean, these are 4 great players. I'm very partial to Brandon Inniss. I saw Brandon when he was an 8th grader, playing varsity football, and was just in love with the kid. And he's done nothing to change that, but I think I would have Carnell ranked ahead of Brandon. I mean, Carnell is just so darn explosive, but Brandon is a great receiver, and Brandon may end up being the best of this bunch, may catch more balls than anyone, more touchdowns, more first downs. Brandon is so darn reliable, but you land them both and you're getting 2 plums here. You put a gun to my head, I'm going to say Carnell will be the best of this group and is the best of this group, but I think it's close. I think people sleep on Brandon Inniss because of measurables, and sometimes, there's more things important than measurables. So, and we'll probably talk about Brandon Inniss on a later show, but for now, I'm taking Carnell over anyone in this group. I may take Carnell over any receiver in America if, we're really dialing it down. So obviously, we both think the world of the kid.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. I think we were talking about 4 guys who may all be top 100 type of guys. I just saw Bryson Rogers maybe a month ago and was really impressed with him. I think they got a kind of a steal there. But I will go with Carnell. I think he's the best blend of versatility, size, and speed. And in fact, I know Zachariah Branch is unbelievably athletic, but I think Carnell might be the number 1 receiver in this class. I don't think it's a loaded wide receiver class in terms of some of the great receiver classes we've seen over the years. I think it's probably kind of an average, kind of middle of the road. It's not a down year for receivers. It's not necessarily like a huge bumper crop of receivers nationally. I think it's probably generally a middle of the road type of class, but I think Carnell might be the best guy in the class. But I am a little biased against the slot guys. I don't value them as much as I should. I probably need to wake up and join the 2020s here, where the slot receiver has become much more important to offenses at pretty much all levels of football. But I just think Carnell, the damage he can do inside and outside, his ability to win one-on-one matchups, both as a route runner and when the ball's in the air, is just I think it's special, and I think it's a huge pickup. We don't want to put the cart in front of the horse here necessarily, but again, 2 really good ones in. 2 more that are, hopeful, I guess. If you're Ohio State, you're feeling hopeful about, let's put the cart before the horse a little bit. Let's say they get the 4 they want. Let's say they get these top 4 guys. If they're able to pull this off, another great job by Brian Hartline. Is this, I think we always seem to ask this maybe every year, maybe we didn't ask it last year, but like 3 out of 4 years we seem to ask, is this the best class, that Ohio State's had at receiver in the last, 20 years or something like that. But, would this top Hartline's previous efforts, or, where would you have this one with his previous recruiting efforts?
Wow. I mean, it's got to be at the top or near the top. I mean, if you just look at rankings, and I think that's kind of, that's the way everybody's going to look at it. I don't think that's the way you and I look at it necessarily, but, we think Bryson Rodgers is criminally underrated. Love Noah Rodgers. Brandon Inniss, again, to me, is he's better than what people think he is, and he's already ranked as, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 wide receiver in America. And Carnell Tate, we're comparing to, guys that were top 10 draft picks this year, and Jackson Smith and Jigma might be a top 5 pick next year. And we think Carnell ranks right with them. So, my gosh, it's an amazing wide receiver haul if he gets everybody that we think he's going to get. Brian Hartline, he's, you want to call him the top non-coordinator assistant coach in America. I don't know how anyone could argue with that. And if every coach filled his position group the way Brian Hartline fills his position group year after year, you're not worried about losing to Michigan and not making the playoffs, or getting to the playoffs and getting blown out by 20 or 30 points. You know what I mean? You're talking about, best team in the country every year, or right there. So, hats off to Brian Hartline and what he's doing and what he's able to do as a recruiter. And I think this is going to continue next year. We're going to be sitting here next year, a year from now, God willing, we both live that long. We're going to be talking about, is this the best wide receiver crew, when he lands J.J. Smith and, a few others. So, hats off to Brian Hartline and what he's doing. And, hats off to Ryan Day and what he's installed at Ohio State offensively. That makes it a lot easier for Brian Hartline to recruit in this offense.
Yeah, I would put this up there. I think, if they get these other two, it would certainly be up there. We'll have to wait and see what they do to finish this, and then we can kind of officially compare. But I think it'll be an interesting discussion if they're able to get the 4 they want. And yeah, I agree with you. I think Ryan Day has put together such a receiver, quarterback friendly system that all these guys want to play in that it's almost unfair. It'd be like, I kind of make this comparison. If like Brian Hartline is kind of like, like a Babe Ruth or Barry Bonds power hitter, and letting him sell Ryan Day's system is almost like telling a pitcher you can only throw him fastballs. Like you can't throw anything off speed. It's just incredible that they're able to combine that system with Hartline's ability to develop and sell, his room. And it's really, really tough. You're seeing it across the country. It's tough for other schools to go in these head-to-heads against Hartline and the Buckeyes for receivers right now. So, hats off to them. Another big win here, and they're 2/4 of the way to getting the receiver class they want. And so we'll see. I think if it's going to come together for them, if they're going to go 4 for 4, I think we're going to probably find that out here in the next few weeks. I don't think we're going to be in the dark here when football season starts, put it that way. So we'll see what happens here in the next few weeks if they're able to add to this. But another huge win for the Buckeyes. So thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we'll see you soon here with another episode, I think.